Hi everyone, coming to you today with a short video that I wanted to make because I've been getting quite a few emails from people in the last couple of days asking for help with some various problems that they have, and many of the problems people are sharing with in the emails are quite similar, and that means of course there's others out there who also are suffering from some things that just haven't emailed me. And I thought rather than type the same answer into several emails and going on in the future, I thought I could try to just do something like this as a way of offering a few suggestions for, mostly I've been getting questions about anxiety and the inability to sleep because of it, insomnia type things, and also getting some questions about people who feel they've got some sort of parasitic influence. And I don't want to, we'll soften that just to say, for now, energy loss. They're feeling some kind of energy loss. And there's lots of reasons why you could be suffering energy loss. That's one of them, but there are lots of them. And until you know what the cause is, it's good to just treat it to start with as energy loss. So what I'm going to do here is just give you some suggestions of some things that, because I've dealt with those things myself. And these are not cures, these are not going to fix you, these are not going to end the problem, but they're some very simple things that might be able to help you manage it, to help you go, if you feel you're at a 7 out of 10 level, that might take you to a 3 or 4. Make things a bit easier until you do get to the point where you see what you need to do to have the right cure or the right possible fix for you, because it's so personal to actually get to that level. But the base suggestions of something that helped me, I'm going to share what helped you, and maybe be able to reach a number of people then writing over again in the same emails. And I'm not saying don't send the emails, by all means, please do. I have no problems, but to take and read your emails and respond to them. But I figured here's a chance to respond to a number of them all at the same time. So the first would be anxiety and sleep troubles. And 4 years ago, I went through, just after a knee surgery, I went through unbearable anxiety. It started out of nowhere. I really don't know why it started, but it like consumed me. And then I couldn't eat. I had horrible tinnitus that was ringing in my ears, which of course is what tinnitus is, right? But the worst of it for a while was I couldn't sleep. And I mean, not at all, like zero. I was going on 2 weeks with zero sleep. I didn't even know that was possible. I thought, I just, at some point I figured I'm just going to get exhausted enough from all this that I'm just going to, I'll pass out. But it never happened. I never even got like 10 minutes in the night. And I didn't even know how I was still going up and functioning. I had to go see the physiotherapist to try to strengthen the knee and the leg. And so finally a wise woman that I know, who lives near me, gave me a suggestion. And I'm desperate at this point, right? I'll try anything. And the suggestion turned out to be quite amazing. And the suggestion was, here I am lying there, partially, of course, frustrated, partially, cursing the situation I'm in. And it was finally realizing that, but there's millions of people right now in the same situation as me, and in fact, worse. My life wasn't too bad, and I'm just dealing with all the anxiety. How about the people that are going through, they're torture victims, and they're dealing with that every day. They're kids who have been abused by their parents again, and now that's why they can't sleep, and then why they're scared in their bed, or someone who's just in dying of a disease, and I started thinking, and so I took her words was, okay, how can I use this time to try to send, and I don't want to say send energy or send healing to them, that's not the right word. I just wanted to make all of these other people, if possible, feel like they weren't alone. They weren't suffering through the experience of the pain and the unable to sleep and the anxiety that I was there too, and I could feel it with them. And at first what would happen was, after about an hour of trying to do this, I kind of had to learn how to feel into it. But faces would just start appearing to me. I'd see an old man from like Africa. I'd see a young girl from Thailand. I'd see a person from Belgium. And I'd just see these faces, and I kind of had a vague sense of where they were in the world. I didn't know anything of their story, just their face looked sad, and probably the way my face would have looked to them. And I just tried to hold their face and just kind of say, I'm suffering right now with you too. And hopefully a message can get through that somebody else, somewhere in the world who doesn't know who you are, can feel the suffering, and we're together, we're not alone. And sometimes the face would just pass on and a new face would come. Other times the face, maybe a tiny smile would appear. I don't know if this was my conscious mind, my subconscious mind just producing like the equivalent of like a little dream experience for me to make me feel better, whether something was really going on, whether I was really actually connecting with people connected to the faces that I was seeing. I don't know. All I know was that it felt like a good thing to do, rather than just sit there complaining to myself and complaining to the universe. It was like, okay, I'll see if I can send some help to someone else. Sure, why not? And for the first couple of nights, nothing happened. I didn't really sleep, but I noticed that I at least was not as exhausted when I got up in the morning. By about the third day, I started adding animals to it, because I have such a love for animals, and so many are suffering, either neglect, torture, just even animals in the wild who have got injured and are in pain. And all of a sudden, then along with a human face, and there might be a cat or a giraffe or a bird or a fish, it was quite incredible. And after 3 or 4 days of trying to do this, all of a sudden, I went to sleep. Just all of a sudden, just in the middle of it, maybe not long, 1 or 2 hours, but it was like a gift from the heavens to all of a sudden be able to sleep. And then the next night, it might be 2 or 3 hours. And this kind of went on for a while. I maybe got to the point where I could get 4 hours-ish of sleep a night. And it took about another month after that of doing some other work on myself before I could start having longer sleeps again. But to me, there was no question, this turning over my personal suffering time into how can I use this time. And it was more exactly, I wasn't trying to heal anybody. I wasn't trying to fix anybody. I was just trying to let whoever or whatever came to mind feel that they weren't alone, that they weren't suffering alone. So I'll share that one with you, as if you're going through that and having sleep troubles, maybe that's something you can try. It links to a teaching I got in a sweat lodge once from Bruce Starlight, who is I guess he's still living, a Tsutina medicine man, a reserve just outside of Calgary, and I'd been going there maybe 6 months by this time, so I was starting to be able to get a bit of connection and relationship to him. And some people had come that hadn't been there for a couple of months, but I do remember them because they had a unique look to them. And somebody in their family had been sick the last time they were there, and again, somebody in their family was sick. I don't know if it's the same person or somebody else, but they came, asked for prayers, asked for help from Bruce, and of course he did. Then after the sweat, because I would always stay and talk a bit and help with any cleanup or things that were required. And Bruce said to me, "Do you remember those people who were here again?" I said, "Oh yeah, I remember them." And he said, "That's a perfect example. So many people only come to the sweat lodge when they feel bad, when they have a problem, when they need help. And that's the difference." He said, "You're coming even though you feel good." And that's important. It's more important to be at the sweat, he said, when you feel good, because then you can learn how to pray for others. You can take your time when you are feeling well to turn that prayer energy into helping someone else, because then when the time ever comes when you really need the help, in a sense, the spirit world has seen that you've been willing in your good place to spend time helping someone else. So I'm just sharing that to link into the story that I just gave you. So the second bit of ones that are coming in quite a bit is concerning what I'm just going to call energy loss. They're feeling some type of energy loss. They don't know what the energy loss is from, but you just feel that no matter what you do, you're drained by the end of the day. So for that, I'll give you 3 suggestions that have done things to help me out a little bit. One is a type of energetic cleanse. And you can do this, it's really simple. You can do it many different ways, but 3 examples I can give you is, one is to take some sea salt into the shower with you and just sort of put some sea salt on you while you're also using the soap, and the sea salt acts as a cleansing agent to your energy. So when the water washes off the salt with the soap, it's also washing off the some of the places where energy might be stuck or energy might be trying to be losing from your energy field, and those holes might tighten up a little bit. The same, you can burn some sage or sweetgrass, which would be the native Indian way of using a smudge. Asians, Buddhists, they would use a type of incense. So you can also, if you have an incense that really smells nice or has a very particular cleansing property to it, things like patchouli or myrrh incense, those things come to mind. But it's just to burn it around your body and let the smoke kind of cleanse your energy around you, or you can even cleanse the space you're in. I just remind you to the one thing I saw once, I came to his house and he was smudging his house for me, which was nice. He wanted to have a cleansed house, but he had no windows or doors open, and he cleansed his whole house. He walked around, and then I just asked him, so where does that negative energy you've just cleaned, where does it go? I said, what do you mean? Well, the smoke has sort of got the energy a bit upset. That negative energy doesn't like the smoke. That's the whole point of the burning of the incense, of the smoke. It stirs up the negative energy. I said, so where are you directing it? Where are you sending it? I said, I don't understand. I said, well, wouldn't it be a good idea to open a door or a window, and then as you're done, you just sort of move your last bit of the smoke or incense, to sort of move it, to ask it to leave and go outside to another place? And he said, yeah, of course. And so he did it again. He opened the window, and he himself could tell right away that the room was different. The room he had just cleaned was a completely different thing. So same thing. To just, if you're going to do this, just have one little window or door open a little bit, and just when you're done your smudge of whatever it is or incense, just move that to the door, and you'll often see the smoke it'll just fly out the door, fly out the window, and some of that energy's gone and it's just cleaned up. So that's one I would suggest. Second would be to carry a stone with you that's a really nice protective stone, like a really good one. I think I have one actually on me, which is a black tourmaline. Do I have a black tourmaline stone? I thought I had a black tourmaline. But black tourmaline is a really good stone, or some of these darker grounding stones, like an Apache tear or a hematite, or these kind of stones. They're all really good for grounding. But so are like blue stones. Blue stones are also really nice as well. Oh, I do have a black tourmaline. It's in my left pocket, black tourmaline. And these kind of stones are just helpful from the standpoint of reflecting any negative energy that might be moving towards you. Another one would be amethyst, actually. Amethyst, and you can, just something small, simple. Some of these stones you might be lucky to even find outside if you know where to look. Leave a gift or an offering if you're going to take a stone from nature, of course. So yeah, that's another simple one to try. And the third one I would recommend for people is just some kind of grounding. And there's so many different ways you can ground. I mean, again, this is all stuff most of you probably know already, right? It's just a reminder. Hey, you probably know this, but just try it. Might help a bit. Grounding, which is from just walking and standing on the ground barefoot, or the beach barefoot. going into the ocean, going into a lake, gardening, sitting with a tree, sitting with a rock for a while, or even doing a type of grounding exercise practice like Tai Chi or Qigong, or even certain types of Hatha Yoga have a very grounding presence to them. And just even doing one of these activities for 10 or 15 minutes a day can kind of help, again, just center the energy a little bit. And you might notice you're still getting some energy loss, but it's more manageable. So, and if you're really looking, and I just happen to have the book here, a book that really talks about how the ancients used to heal. Of course, I talk about Empower Then, how the Egyptians did it, the combination of the 3 steps there. But in a more native sense, this is one of the greatest books to show how Fool's Crow healed. Now, there's 2 books Thomas Males did on Fool's Crow, but it's this one. It's his last one, called Words of Power? Wisdom and Power. Fool's Crow, Wisdom and Power. And it takes, if you do happen to buy the book and read it, it takes about 4 chapters to kind of go past any just background on Fool's Crow and Thomas Males, and to actually start having Fool's Crow share how he learned his healing wisdom and how he proceeded to use it with people. It's truly fascinating. It's one of those books that I kind of read once a year, because there's so much there, and I get something new every time I read it, and just a memory of how these people worked. And of course, I'm lucky because I had all the time with different medicine men in their sweat lodges to see a little bit of how they worked. I wasn't there to learn how to be a healer, and I don't consider myself one. I just have some suggestions from all the things I've learned and seen. But it's always a pleasure to watch ones who can heal and see how they do it, and ask them what their strategy is to create the experience for the patient. So that's a really good one I'd recommend. So there's a few suggestions of how to maybe do a few things as a test for 7 days or 10 days, and see if any of these conditions or challenges you're having improve some, because that's the first step, is making some improvement. Curing something can take quite a long time. It can happen overnight, but it can take quite a while too, and it's good to have some steps that lessen the challenge as you go. And so I just thought I would share that video with you, and get on to making the City Fires video now. Cheers.